Wheel of Time audiobooks span over 450 hours. Now imagine if you could have the sound effects, ambience, and music of a film for all 450 of those hours. I'm Jordan Rennells, the creator of the Soundscape of Time, a unique audio journey through the Wheel of Time series. I believe Robert Jordan's The Wheel of Time is a story of immense detail, complexity, and beauty, worth experiencing in as immersive a way as possible. That's why I've created the Soundscape of Time, a 3D immersive audio journey through these books. Stick around to the end for a full demonstration, but for now, what is a soundscape? Unlike traditional audiobooks that focus solely on narration, my soundscapes incorporate ambient environments, specific sound effects, and an original score. It starts by creating ambient environments for the many places we visit, like the simple everyday life of Emmons Field. Then you add specific sound effects for each moment. You'll hear the small moments like Pod and Fane pulling into the two rivers. Finally, we add an original score that I'll be writing for each moment along the journey through each book. Themes for Emmons Field, Rand, Egwene, and so many more. Now, the demonstration will come at the end of this video, so stick around. But if you've read the series, then you should be as excited as I am about some of the amazing moments that we'll get to experience. The Soundscape of Time is designed to be listened to on its own, but also with the official, but not included, audiobooks. So you can simply line up the two for a complete movie in your ears experience. Creating such an immersive experience takes a lot of time, and by backing this project, you'll give me the time to make all these details as good and small and minute as they can be. But to kick things off, I'm really excited to announce that The Eye of the World, the Eye collection, is actually already almost done. So shortly after the Kickstarter is finished, you'll have access to that as I work on The Great Hunt, The Dragon Reborn, and The Shadow Rising. Let's do some math. The audiobook for The Eye of the World is 30 hours long. I have 5 steps to my process: designing ambience, creating sound effects, recording Foley, writing the score, and mixing. If I spend a very conservative 3 hours on each of these different elements for every chapter of the audiobook, we're already at 450 hours. And like I said, that's conservative, not counting the research, double-checking, or any of the other small pieces of work that go into this. By backing this project, you're giving me the one thing this series is all about: time. I want to handle each moment with care. Every small movement of Rand's cloak in the wind. How does the sound of Saidin compare to Saidar? What do Trollocs sound like? And so on down the list. It takes a lot of time. I've designed the Kickstarter tiers to be very straightforward. You can back a single collection, your choice of one of the first 4 books. You can back a double collection, your choice of 2 of the first 4 books. You can back a triple collection, your choice of 3 of the first 4 books. And you can back a quad collection. That's all 4 books. You can also be a guest musician and play your part on the score. You can be an executive producer and be part of the big decisions throughout the series. And finally, you can even choose the Soundscape of Time tier, which will give you access to all 15 books, each as they release. You can choose from a few add-ons, be part of my research team, or you can lend your voice to certain moments, be a Trolloc, or be a voice in Kyrian with my voice role tier. Now, this isn't the first soundscape that I've completed. I've already done all of the Lord of the Rings, and I've also done the first Harry Potter book, Winnie the Pooh, and The Hedge Knight. You can find all of these as add-ons and dive into many hours of listening right away. I'm so excited to continue this journey through the Soundscape of Time and share it all with you guys. Once you back the project, listening is easy. You'll get access through a private podcast feed or downloadable files for seamless syncing with the audiobook. Again, that's not included, but very easily set up. Join me in bringing the Soundscape of Time to life. Together we can create an unparalleled experience for all Wheel of Time fans as we go through this amazing story. Now it's almost time for the demonstration, but I'm sure you're all wondering, what about the other 11 books? Don't worry, I'll be doing those as well. The last thing I want is for the journey to end unfinished. This Kickstarter will have stretch goals. You can find those in the write-up. So the further we get, the more books I can do. I know WalkCon is running right now, so tell all of your friends and help me push this Kickstarter as far as possible and as far past the finish line as we can. I can't do that without the support and all of you sharing and spreading the word. So help me as much as you can and we'll see how far we can go. If you're like me, those moments of payoff in later books will be incredible to get to, but I can't do that without your help. Alright, it's time for the demonstration. We're going to listen to the entire Dragon Mount prologue for Eye of the World, and it's going to include Michael Kramer's amazing narration. That'll come and go through different spots. I can't include the whole thing, of course, but if you want, you can combine the audiobook and the soundscape later nice and easily. So grab a pair of headphones, and you won't be able to hear the 3D elements without those headphones, so make sure you have them. Close your eyes and listen, and thank you all so much for your support. And what else can I say, but it's time to toss the dice.
In odd counterpoint, colorful tapestries and paintings, masterworks all, hung undisturbed, except where bulging walls had pushed them awry. Finely carved furnishings, inlaid with ivory and gold, stood untouched, except where rippling floors had toppled them. The mind twisting had struck at the core, ignoring peripheral things. Luz Therin Telamon wandered the palace, deftly keeping his balance when the earth heaved. Ilyena, my love, where are you? The edge of his pale gray cloak trailed through blood as he stepped across the body of a woman, her golden-haired beauty marred by the horror of her last moments, her still open eyes frozen in disbelief. Where are you, my wife? Where is everyone hiding? His eyes caught his own reflection in a mirror hanging askew from bubbled marble. His clothes had been regal once, in gray and scarlet and gold. Now the finely woven cloth, brought by merchants from across the world sea, was torn and dirty, thick with the same dust that covered his hair and skin. Luz Therin began to chuckle, then threw back his head. His laughter echoed down the lifeless halls. Ilyena, my love, come to me, my wife. You must see this. Behind him, the air rippled, shimmered, solidified into a man who looked around, his mouth twisting briefly with distaste. Not so tall as Luz Therin, he was clothed all in black, save for the snow-white lace at his throat and the silverwork on the turned-down tops of his thigh-high boots. He stepped carefully, handling his cloak fastidiously to avoid brushing the dead. The floor trembled with aftershocks, but his attention was fixed on the man staring into the mirror and laughing. Lord of the Morning, he said, I have come for you. Ilyena, my love, we have a guest. Ilyena, where are you? The black-clad man's eyes widened, darted to the body of the golden-haired woman, then back to Luz Therin. Shaitan take you. Does the taint already have you so far in its grip? That name, Shai. Luz Therin shuddered and raised a hand as though to ward off something. For a moment, Luz Therin stared at his raised hand, fascinated by the patterns of grime. Then he wiped his hand on his even dirtier coat and turned his attention back to the other man. "Who are you? What do you want?" The black-clad man drew himself up arrogantly. "Once I was called Elan Morin Tedronai, but now, betrayer of hope." It was a whisper from Luz Theron. Memory stirred, but he turned his head, shying away from it. "So you do remember some things?" "Yes, betrayer of hope." "Ilyena, where are you?" The floor shook. The golden-haired woman's body shifted as if in answer to his call. His eyes did not see her. Elan Morin grimaced. "Look at you," he said scornfully. "Once you stood first among the servants. Once you wore the ring of Temelin and sat in the high seat. Once you summoned the 9 rods of dominion. Now look at you. A pitiful, shattered wretch. But it is not enough. You humbled me in the Hall of Servants. You defeated me at the gates of Parandisan. But I am the greater now. I will not let you die without knowing that. When you die, your last thought will be the full knowledge of your defeat, of how complete and utter it is. If I let you die at all. I cannot imagine what is keeping Ilyena. She will give me the rough side of her tongue if she thinks I have been hiding a guest from her. I hope you enjoy conversation, for she surely does. Be forewarned. Ilyena will ask you so many questions, you may end up telling her everything you know." Tossing back his black cloak, Elan Morin flexed his hands. "A pity for you," he mused, "that one of your sisters is not here. I was never very skilled at healing, and I follow a different power now. But even one of them could only give you a few lucid moments if you did not destroy her first. What I can do will serve as well for my purposes." His sudden smile was cruel. "But I fear Shaitan's healing is different from the sort you know. Be healed, Luz Theron." He extended his hands, and the light dimmed as if a shadow had been laid across the sun. Pain blazed in Luz Theron, and he screamed a scream that came from his depths, a scream he could not stop. Fire seared his marrow. Acid rushed along his veins. He toppled backwards, crashing to the marble floor. His head struck the stone and rebounded. His heart pounded, trying to beat its way out of his chest, and every pulse gushed new flame through him. Helplessly he convulsed, thrashing, his skull a sphere of purest agony on the point of bursting. His hoarse screams reverberated through the palace. His eyes fell on the golden-haired woman, and the scream that was ripped out of him dwarfed every sound he had made before. Tottering, almost falling, he scrabbled brokenly across the floor to her. It took every bit of his strength to pull her up into his arms. His hands shook as he smoothed her hair back from her staring face. "Ilyena, light, help me! Ilyena!" His body curved around hers protectively, his sobs the full-throated cries of a man who had nothing left to live for. "Ilyena, no! No!" 10 years your foul master has racked the world. And now this. I will... 10 years? You pitiful fool. This war has not lasted 10 years, but since the beginning of time. You and I have fought 1,000 battles with the turning of the wheel. 1,000 times 1,000. And we will fight until time dies and the shadow is triumphant. He finished in a shout with a raised fist, and it was Luz Theron's turn to pull back, breath catching at the glow in the betrayer's eyes. Carefully, Luz Theron laid Ilyena down, fingers gently brushing her hair. Tears blurred his vision as he stood, but his voice was iced iron. For what else you have done, there can be no forgiveness, betrayer. But for Ilyena's death, I will destroy you beyond anything your master can repair. Prepare to... Remember, you fool. Remember your futile attack on the great Lord of the Dark? Remember his counterstroke? Remember. Even now, the 100 companions are tearing the world apart, and every day 100 men more join them. What hand slew Ilyena's son here, Kinslayer? Not mine. Not mine. What hand struck down every life that bore a drop of your blood? Everyone who loved you. Everyone you loved. Sudden sweat made tracks down Luz Theron's face through the dust and dirt. He remembered, a cloudy memory like a dream of a dream, but he knew it true. His howl beat at the walls, the howl of a man who had discovered his soul damned by his own hand, and he clawed at his face as if to tear away the sight of what he had done. Everywhere he looked, his eyes found the dead. Torn they were, or broken, or burned, or half consumed by stone. Everywhere lay lifeless faces he knew, faces he loved, old servants and friends of his childhood, faithful companions through the long years of battle. And his children, his own sons and daughters, sprawled like broken dolls, play stilled forever, all slain by his hand. His children's faces accused him, blank eyes asking why, and his tears were no answer. Desperately, he reached out to the true source, to tainted Sidene, and he traveled. The land around him was flat and empty. A river flowed nearby, straight and broad, but he could sense there were no people within 100 leagues. He was alone as a man could be while still alive, yet he could not escape memory. The eyes pursued him through the endless caverns of his mind. He could not hide from them. His children's eyes, Ilyena's eyes. Light, forgive me. He did not believe it could come, forgiveness. Not for what he had done, but he shouted to the sky anyway, begged for what he could not believe he could receive. Light, forgive me. He was still touching Sidene, the male half of the power that drove the universe, that turned the wheel of time, and he could feel the oily taint fouling its surface, the taint of the shadow's counterstroke, the taint that doomed the world. Because of him. Because in his pride he had believed that men could match the Creator, could mend what the Creator had made and they had broken. In his pride, he had believed. He drew on the true source deeply, and still more deeply, like a man dying of thirst. Quickly he had drawn more of the one power than he could channel unaided. His skin felt as if it were aflame. Straining, he forced himself to draw more, tried to draw it all. Light, forgive me! Ilyena! The air turned to fire, the fire to light liquefied. The bolt that struck from the heavens would have seared and blinded any eye that glimpsed it, even for an instant. From the heavens it came, blazed through Luz Theron Telamon, poured into the bowels of the earth. Stone turned to vapor at its touch. The earth thrashed and quivered like a living thing in agony. Only a heartbeat did the shining bar exist, connecting ground and sky. But even after it vanished, the earth yet heaved like the sea in a storm. Molten rock fountained 500 feet into the air, and the groaning ground rose, thrusting the burning spray ever upward, ever higher. From north and south, from east and west, the wind howled in, snapping trees like twigs, shrieking and blowing as if to aid the growing mountain ever skyward, ever skyward. At last the wind died, the earth stilled to trembling mutters. Of Luz Theron Telamon, no sign remained. On the island, the air shimmered and coalesced. The black-clad man stood staring at the fiery mountain rising out of the plain, his face twisted in rage and contempt. You cannot escape so easily, dragon. It is not done between us. It will not be done until the end of time. Then he was gone, and the mountain and the island stood alone, waiting. And the shadow fell upon the land, and the world was riven stone from stone. The oceans fled, and the mountains were swallowed up, and the nations were scattered to the 8 corners of the world. The moon was as blood, and the sun was as ashes. The seas boiled, and the living envied the dead. All was shattered, and all but memory lost, and one memory above all others, of him who brought the shadow and the breaking of the world. Him they named Dragon. From Aleth Nin Terin Alta Camora, The Breaking of the World. Author unknown, The Fourth Age. And it came to pass in those days, as it had come before and would come again, that the dark lay heavy on the land and weighed down the hearts of men, and the green things failed, and hope died. And men cried out to the Creator, saying, O light of the heavens, light of the world, let the promised one be born of the mountain, according to the prophecies, as he was in ages past and will be in ages to come. Let the prince of the morning sing to the land that green things will grow and the valleys give forth lambs. Let the arm of the Lord of the dawn shelter us from the dark, and the great sword of justice defend us. Let the dragon ride again on the winds of time. From Charal Grianan Te Kalaman, The Cycle of the Dragon. Author unknown, The Fourth Age.